it's funny when you're speaking, it took me to Iran. And I lived in Iran 10 years. And one of the reasons why the Shah, they eventually kicked them out the second time, there was a group the Shah feared the most. And it was a group called Tudei. And Tudeis were communists who had escaped Lenin or Stalin. These could have been Armenians. This could have been, Russians who came to Iran because the Shah was trying to make it more westernized. And he had to battle against the Hezbollahs and, the extremists and Tudei. He feared Tudei so much that every Tudei, just think about Tudei equals communist, same thing. These are people that swore by the book Karl Marx, Communist Manifesto. My family, mother's side, the Communist Manifesto Bible was first, then it was the Bible. It was like, to them, that was their Bible. I grew up with that. And he kept, every time he found them, he kept arresting them. He found ways to eliminate them because he knew long-term, these guys were trying to create a revolution in Iran to divide the entire nation that was growing at a pace that was about to pass UK, specifically with all the new contracts of oil he was going to renew in 1979. Obviously, in the contract that was signed in 1954 for a 25-year contract with France, Germany, Russia, and I believe US. And then that was his fear. So where I'm going with this is, the whole idea where General Mark Milley, who General Mark Milley, he came out and he opposed folks like yourself. And here's a man who says, look, what's wrong with my kid? I've read Communist Manifesto and I've read, I don't know what the other book he talked about, I don't know what the other book would have been. It would have been Ayn Rand or Atlas Shrugged but he said another book. He says, I've read both books. He says, I want to learn both books. What's wrong with learning both books? What's wrong with doing this? Do you think there's a problem with even allowing an idea that dangerous enter the minds of people? Or are you from the school of thought of, if we're going to develop a strong immune system as individuals, sometimes herd immunity means you have to face opposing ideas for you to get stronger? What are your thoughts on that?
That's an excellent question that you've asked. I think that it's important for us to learn history. First off, I'll say that up front. The good, the bad, and the ugly. It's important not to shy away from our ugly past as a country either. It's one thing to study and learn about Marxism, for example, to study the Communist Manifesto, to study Lenin's writings, to study Mao's writings, what Stalin was doing during his time in the Soviet Union. It's one thing to study ideology and these things. It's an entirely different thing altogether to infuse our institutions with its tenets and its vocabulary. Okay, entirely different. It's important and healthy to have dialogue. It's unhealthy to impose viewpoints, political viewpoints and ideology on people and insist that to disagree is to identify yourself as either racist or bigoted, and you start throwing labels around at people if they disagree with your views, if they disagree with your understanding of history. That's where things begin. You mentioned fear in Iran. There was a fear. There is a climate of fear that we've generated for ourselves very rapidly in this country, where we've politicized the environment. And, you see people losing their jobs if they disagree with a particular political stance or political ideology. Well, I'll tell you what that translates into in an organization like our armed forces. And this is a very important point. Our service members, in my view, shoulder an unfair burden of remaining apolitical when political ideology comes face to face with them, and they've been trained their entire lives to know that they're supposed to remain apolitical, because to disagree is to necessarily be viewed as politically partisan. Yep. But to sit silent because of a climate of fear is to allow for you, your values, your belief systems, your own viewpoint to be steamrolled by a different, incompatible political ideology.
So if you like this little short clip from an interview I did, click over here to watch the entire interview. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.